Good morning, Rabbi Isai. You gotta remind me. Yeah, so I'll say it right now. First of all, Hayoim Shloisha v'Arba'im Yoim Sheheim Shisha Shavuos v'Yoim Echad Ba'Imer La'Imer. So, one of our big Chaverim, person who came to two Shabbatons, Moshe Handler, his son was one of the three boys that was killed in the Lakewood crash. So when I said it on Motzei Shabbos, I wasn't sure. I didn't want to say the wrong thing, but it's him. I danced with Moshe Handler on the first Shabbaton. After the Shabbaton was over, we did our own private Rikud in the shul. We did it. Everybody was gone. We did a Rikud. So, and he was there 2 years in a row. He's a big part of the shir. Should I have an Achama, Be'ez Hashem, I'll reach him on the phone today, tomorrow. I want to tell you, it hit me now, right here in the room, on Shabbos, we have a minyan for the youth. So, Baruch was at 9:30, after Zman Kriya Shema, and every single Shabbos, there's not a single seat available. We ask that the adults don't come. It's more, but a lot of adults, they try to sneak in, they have a son, so they come. I want to tell you about a Kiddush Hashem. I thought it was a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. I established the minyan. I said there's only one rule. There's no talking during davening at all. Zero talking. First week, a couple of boys tried. I went over to them, spoke to them. Second week, that's it. They're very strong, no talking. Not only that, if a guest comes and talks, right away people shush them, no talking. This week, they went into to get the Sefer Torah. The safe is broken. They couldn't get in. So they had to go to the shul. And it took, 5-6 minutes at least until they went to the Bnei Yeshivas and they pulled out the Sefer Torah. And it's a time that, it's downtime. It's nishtahi, nishtahir, it's not davening. Probably allowed to speak because Shachris is over. It's not Kriyas Torah, no Sefer Torah out. And not a single person uttered a word. They stood there for 7 minutes like this. I thought it was a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. And it's something that we could bring to other shuls. I see it's doable because these are boys that typically like to speak. They like to shmooze during shul. And here, so, Be'ezer Hashem. Lakewood Chaver looking to arrange Thursday night. That's every minyan. In the 8 o'clock minyan, there's no talking. I don't know about the first minyan. Lakewood Chaver looking to arrange Thursday night, watch shir together. L'yidin Nishmas, L'zeich Nishmas for David Yitzchok Handler, Olav Shalom, Chizuk L'matan Torah, the son of Rav Moshe Handler. We need help, sponsors, location, speaker. Rebelli. I joined them at the start of Sanhedrin after not picking up a sefer in 13 years. We have hundreds of these. Since then, I've started putting on tefillin every day. Not everybody wants to admit that, but it goes hand in hand. It's a guy that looks very frum and everything, but sometimes you're weak in certain areas. Learning chitas and rediscovered the joy in learning Torah. My son was born 10 days ago, arriving 8 weeks earlier than expected. Doing the daf gave me chizuk and bitachon that will get through all the challenges ahead and that everything will work out. I want to thank you for bringing the light of Torah to many people who otherwise wouldn't have it in their lives. Thank you. Best, Shmuel Holtzman. Good morning, Rebelli. I really enjoy traveling the safari vicariously through you. It's no wonder that Hashem gave the Chaver the cheetah kill. It's a Gemara at the end of Makkos. The pasuk Malachi says, "V'chanunu no bezois." I said this in Shir. Chanunu, you could test the Kishbarch with tzedakah. Hashem says it's only mitzvah giving tzedakah that one is allowed to say, "I'll do it conditionally." It's on today's daf, the zechiv to give tzedakah. Hashem says, "Test me." Absolutely, Yossi Klein also deserved the credit for also putting together. However, the tzedakah commitments, I believe, is what actualized the up close and personal. All the best. Mechi Wurzburger, Toronto. Yossi Klein sent me a video of Mo Landy, who started the $12,000 thing to see the kill. And you see Mo Landy filming the kill. But what you see is that part of his screen, he was watching the shir at the time. You saw that? Because I guess he was watching the shir in the Jeep and then the kill. So he pulled it up and got caught learning Torah. A good vach. I've attached a picture of the Thursday night Chazara Chabura in Queens. Gewaldig. People are getting together to do Chazara, to learn extra, to getting together with Chabura. The daf and the pictures and the video are displayed on the big screen, not shown here. It's under the video conferencing camera that took the picture. Thank you for all the hard work the union team put in reviewing, so easy and so enjoyable. Benjamin Bloomberg, Queens, Brachas Daf Beis. Here's another guy from Brachas Daf Beis. This is one of the ambassadors, the one from Bnei Brak, Moshe Cohen. 45,000 people get a copy of this. And he put his own ad, his own money. Promoting his, and he's renting a place in Bnei Brak, and he has a sign. It's an official MDY satellite location. L'chvod Rebelli would like to share a beautiful story. Yeah, I got this from a few people. Crazy story. Basically, I'll just say real quickly, a 4-year-old kid was with his family at a train station, and another person was running to catch the train and hit the 4-year-old kid and knocked him on his head, and the kid is in a coma since Pesach. The father's watching the shiurim next to his bed, and the kid started laughing in his coma and then crying. And the first thing the kid said was, when the shiur went on, and said, "Good morning, Rabbi," said the kid said, "Ah, Ma'aseh Shaya." It's Kalina Chassid. The father put the shiur on, and the Good Morning Rabbi the child said, "Ah, that means your shiur has an impact on this boy. Who knows how many more? May have a refuah shleima Eliezer ben Chava." Rabbi Isai, the Masechta sponsored by Anonymous, Hatzlacha Baruch Nisu Begashmius. Monthly sponsors, the Nishma Zachai Ben Moshe Nishma Zachai Bas Yosef. Panas Berevach for Baruch Tzvi Nisim Ben Shoshana Leah. Moshe Aaron and Miriam Landy for the Hatzlacha of all our children. Actualize in honor of David Duvi Merkin of Eastern Union and all the Silver Spring Daffers, Eli Deichman for the refuah shleima of Tinoch Ben Rivka. Dov Eisenberger in honor of the members Chaverim of Bergen County. Teamwork makes the dream work. Anonymous, Lili Nishmas Mital Nami Bas Ruven, a mother of 13 who's just nifteres on Yud Gimel Iyar. Anonymous. Atinoik Adironem Ben Ilana Sari B'schus HaChazok Islam De Adaf Yiskim Meher Lefuah Shleima Menakadosh Baruch Hu. Daily sponsors. Anonymous, an increase in Parnasa to buy a home near the shul he learns in. Amen. This gives me a lot of hana. Ari Chaimowitz, what a day! In honor of my first daf anniversary, Hoidul Hashem. Ari Chaimowitz came here with a photographer a year ago, and that What a Day has about 50,000 views. And last night, the photographer showed up to the Hebrew shir, and he says, "What's his name?" Naftali what? Said he started doing the daf Makis. He did a siyum. He called up Ari, and Ari is whatever. So we got both of them. Mordechai Sapazim, Zechnich Mas's uncle, Danny Silber, Baruch Daniel, Zechron Baruch Ben Yibel Chaim, Reb Zev Levi Hakoyim, his Neshama have an aliyah, maybe in a male issue for his family, his wife, Serena, his children, including his daughter-in-law, his parents, the entire Mishpach, and all of Klal Yisrael. Ilan Davidovich. Hakar Satoy for an amazing week together and for getting my name right. Try to explain. Basically, he told me his name is Davidovich. But in English, you see that extra I over there?
Why didn't he put an H at the end?
There's no I, he's explaining. It's Davidovich. Davidovich. I just call him Davidovich, like the Rav. We have a Chosheva Rav over here around the corner. His name is Rabbi Davidovich. It's easy for me. So he said that's okay. Shmuel Holtzman for the refuah shleima of Tinoch Ben Shira, who's in the NICU, and his mother Shira Bas Rus Mazda, something like that. Hadassah? Masada. Rus Masada. MDY Kids Monthly Innovations, Chus for Official Chonan Akiva, Rivka Mrs. Stevansky, Art of the Month, for Shleima, for Yonatan Eitan Ben Besheva, Bracha, for Schus, for Belly, and the whole MDY staff to continue to make Torah so jobs so many, and Aaron Yossi Klein, Mark Ashkenazi for all the work they do. Last night the women had, from this famous cookbook author, so they had a Zoom to teach them how to make mousse and all the stuff for Shavuos. I have no idea how many women were on it. I know that my wife was put on the spot, she had to speak. So I'll prepare a speech, a whole zach, like the introduction. Turning of the daf, innovations in honor of our sons Kalmo and Yisrael for learning Sanhedrin, Makis, and Shavuos Rebelli at our global. Oh, you're right, but it's good that I read it. Kalmo just reminded me. Kalmo and Yisrael. There's a picture. There should be a picture here of them. Here they go. Here's Kalmo, but here's Aaron Hirsch and his two sons also made the siyumim that I spoke about yesterday. And let me read this real quickly. Usher Smith, happy birthday, was turning 10 years old, completing Sanhedrin and Makis. Every recess he gets special permission to watch a daf in yeshiva. Usher is also constantly trying to promote Yeshir. He's already got his Zaidi, his Rebbe, his friends to sign up Yeshir. Here are the pictures from the Sima Makis. As a person who didn't even grow up with a Gemara in his house, being about Tshuva, what an emotional and special day it was, not only to have a Siyum, but to watch my son have his second Siyum in just less than a month. Thank you, Rebbe, for sharing the light of Gemara, not only changing my life, but changing the life of my son, Benji Smith, Montreal, Canada, your Talmud sins, Bava Basra, Tes Vav, Mazel Tov. Okay. Oisai, we're holding by a brand new Mishnah, Geshmakas Sugya. We're talking about Shavuos. Talking about Shavuos. So, a Shavuah could be about yourself. You could swear something that has to do with you, or something that has to do with somebody else completely. So yesterday we saw one pshat in mamish. Mamish means that you could physically feel it. You could touch it. There's another pshat. And there's two separate cases in the Mishnah. Mamish also means that it accomplishes something. You have a benefit from it. For instance, you could swear about a stone falling into a river and it does nothing. So it's also in by mamish. Ein by mamish we saw yesterday means sleep. You can't. It's not something you could. Tangible. It's not tangible. But there's something that is tangible. It's also ein by mamish. Something silly like I saw somebody throw a stone into the river. Okay. Yes. Yeah. After the Mishnah, I'm going to do. Okay, Tzad. So what is the first case of the Mishnah that has to do with somebody else? Similar to I was in deal, and you know the guys over there.
I pledge $1 million for Moftir.
I was at something similar. Beli Guzma was a revi on a random parasha without any chashivas to the aliyah, so to speak. Every aliyah is chashav, but it wasn't a zgula for parnasa. It wasn't Aseres Adibris, and the guy goes ba'avud, and the guy says, "I'll give $25,000 to this." 23 different tzedakahs, 25,000 to this, 25 to this, and 18 to that. Next guy gets up, 100 to this, 18 to that, and 22 to that. The next guy, each guy's and then they go, Yamoid, Eliyahu, Beri Yaakov David. I didn't know where to bury myself. What am I going to do? Bavur Shiten. Matana. How much? I'm a gronik. I can't say on Shabbos. The girl says you can't. So I gave $10, and I found out that my $10 was more than those other guys gave. No, I didn't. Oh, I have no idea.
It was a big deal. Rabbi Radinsky always says, "How do you know a minhag is stronger than a chiyuv d'oraisa?" Because we pledge money, and the chiyuv d'oraisa.
Who says it? Who says it?
Rabbi Bitzal Radinsky.
How long have you been in my shir? How many times have I said it in this year? Rabbi Nuchvasser said that when you hear a good line in somebody's shir, you should always quote it from somebody else. Wow. As long as he didn't use that other, okay, the competition. Ketzad, Omer Shmuel and Lishploinim Shloyetein, Shonasati v'Shloi Nosati. Okay, so a guy, what does that have to do with somebody else? He says, I'll give somebody else money. I'm going to give, it's nothing to do with me. I'll give him Shonasati v'Shloi Nosati, or I gave him, I didn't give him. So again, we're starting to see the future and the past. She'etein, I'll give in the future. Shonasati, or that I gave and I didn't give. Now go back to the cases of tangible. She'ishan v'shelo ishan, I'm going to sleep and I won't sleep. Sleep is not tangible. I did sleep, I didn't sleep. Telling you, I only slept 1 hour. So that's a shvuah on something that's not tangible. Now here's what's interesting. I'm going to throw a stone into the ocean. So that's ein by mamish. Why is ein by mamish? It's a dumb thing to say. Who cares if you're going to throw a stone? How does it make a difference in this world if you threw a stone into the water or not? I'll show you a nice picture, but I want to do all the pictures in one shot. Oh, here, let's do this at least. She'ishan v'shelo ishan. Here.
I swear I'll go sleep.
Or yashanti v'lo yashanti. This might be Shavuos night in Koil Isav Heter. Oh, so this we already had. If you remember, in the first Mishnah, it says in the pasuk, "Nefesh kisishava," you swear levati b'susayim lahara oy lehetiv. You make a shvuah for the future, lahara, to do bad in the future, to do good in the future. It doesn't say in the past; it says in the future. It says Reb Shmuel, I'm taking these words literally, and therefore all shvuah swearing is only for the future. You can't swear on something that happened in the past. You remember, we took that, we said that shvuah is shtayim. A shvuah is, in the Torah it says, shaloi oichal, I will not eat in the future, shvuah sha'oichal, I will eat in the future, and we make that into 4, and we say, we double up, we take those 2 and we make it in the past. Shaloi oichal, Rishon says, no, there's no 4, we only have 2. Shenemar, lahara elehetiv, it's in the future. So this is good. We're going to have chazara on this. All these words I'm going to say now, we're going to have chazara on this page. Great. So if you're going to be a stickler to the words, so let's be a stickler. Look at the words. It says lahara, to be bad and to do good and to do bad. No, it has to be a bad thing. I swear I'm going to hit somebody in the face. That's bad. Or I swear I'm going to give somebody money. And what if you swear that you're going to eat potato kugel? It's not bad, it's not good. So you can't swear that. It says in the Torah, ra and toiv. You want to be medaik in the worst? Let's be medaik all the way. How do you know that a shvuah works also on something that's not good and not bad? Because take a look at the pasuk. It says anything. So if anything, wait a minute, it says Rebbe Kiva, if anything, okay, I knew you were going to say that. If anything means also in the past. He got him. He set him up for the answer. He says, how do you know that a shvuah is on something that's not on potato kugel? Oh, because it says l'chol shivata. So if it's l'chol shivata, so let's use l'chol shivata in the past also. Says Rebbe Kiva, once you say l'chol shivata, so this goes in all directions also. Shalom Aleichem, what's your name? Lachlan. You look very familiar.
Far Rockaway.
I know you from when I was a kid and I lived in Far Rockaway. Mustama.
Central Avenue.
Central Avenue. My uncle used to live on Central Avenue. Givaldik. Used to live on Sage Street, which is right next to Central, right? Givaldik. And you guys, what's your names?
Eli Halpert.
From?
West Hempstead.
Hempstead. Shalom Aleichem. You?
David.
You yeshiva? You're looking for yeshiva?
Yeshiva.
What's you? America. Ooh. It's a good yeshiva. I went there with my son. I actually want him to go there. Yeah, well, the whole thing, went there twice. Great place. All right, who else? Any other guests? No? Okay. Torah Rabbana. Chaymer b'nedarim b'shvuos. Chaymer b'shvuos b'nedarim. There's something that's more stringent about a neder than a shvuah, and something that's more stringent about a shvuah than a neder. A neder is similar to hegdish. You say, this object is osir on me. So what's the difference? Chaymer b'nedarim shenedarim chalim al dvar mitzvah, dvar rishus. Masha'en kein b'shvuos. A neder, you could apply it on a mitzvah. Why? Because here we're going to use like a yeshivish term, but it's a very geshmak term that the Rishonim use. A neder is on the chefza. It's on the object. It's not on the individual. It's not on the gavra is the individual. It's not on the individual. Individual saying that object, that lulav is also to me. That sukkah is also to me. Which brings me, it hit me that very, very soon, maybe in 25 days, we're starting Masechet Shavuos. Avodah Zarah, sorry. We're finishing Masechet Shavuos, starting Avodah Zarah. Avodah Zarah is a very, very dear Masechta to me for a number of reasons. First of all, that's when MDY started, the middle of Avodah Zarah of Chav Ches. Second of all, that's the only Masechta I did tremendous amount of Chazaras. I almost did 40 times. Not quite. Be'ez Hashem, now I'm going to do a siyum on 40 times. Last year was 22. This is Avodah Zarah way more. So, I can tell you that Avodah Zarah is very different than Shavuos. It actually starts off with real Agadata. The first daf is the famous Agadata work. The Goyim say it's not fair, you didn't give us a mitzvah. He says, here's a sukkah. And then he turns on the sun, and they run out of the sukkah and they give the sukkah a kick. It starts off like that, and it ends, the whole thing is a Geshmaki Masechta. So, I want to plant a seed. We got to start recruiting people, and we have to start getting sponsors for these Gemaras. It's going to cost us over $100,000, these Gemaras. We're going to get a lot of people, and Be'ez Hashem, it's going to be a Gevaldik Masechta. I didn't push Shavuos. Now you see the reason, kind of. You got to trust me. When I say it's Geshmak, it's Geshmak. There is a lot of Agadat on Shavuos and Amud Beis, but not as much as Avodah Zarah. Okay, so anyway.
Can't wait for Avodah Zarah.
Yeah, you can't wait to do Avodah Zarah. I just recall because he says, I'm making a neder, koilim sukkah shani yoisa. I'm not going to make a sukkah. I'm not going to sit in a sukkah. I'm not going to. All lulavim are asar on me. So that's a neder on the chefza, and it actually works. But you cannot make a shvuah. You can't say me myself. I'm not going to go into a sukkah. That you can't do. That doesn't work. Shanadorim chalam al dvar mitzvah kidvar rishus, and just like it applies itself on a mitzvah, like it works on anything else. I won't eat this kugel. Masha'enkein b'shvuos. A shvuah doesn't apply itself to a mitzvah. And what's the stringency when it comes to shvuah? A shvuah could apply itself to sleep. I won't sleep today. Like something that has a tangibility. A neder is like hegdish, and hegdish has to be tangible, so you can't make a neder on something that doesn't have tangibility. Is a word? It's an MDY word. There's tangibility. What's wrong with that word? Explain to me why there's no such word. ChatGPT it. There's too many words. It is not tangible. It doesn't have tangibility. I just had a flash of my mother, Zechron Levracha. She used to tell me, she goes, you mentioned I'm artist in English. How could you, how's your wife gonna, then it turns out she's a bigger artist than me in English, whatever, let me show you. HaKadosh Baruch has his ways. Keitzad. Omar Shavuah, I shouldn't have said that. Omar Shavuah, whoever you are, don't repeat it there, okay? Yishkoyach. Keitzad Omar Shavuah, she went to college and everything, but still, I have a lot of, my English is unbelievable because I got it from the art scroll. Do a lot of English art school.
According to ChatGPT, it's a word, tangibility.
I got all of you. Mr. Panovich got all of you. Ha! The lawyer, the guy that stands up in court in front of judges, doesn't know. Kimiktas of this Panovich Bacher.
What does it mean?
Wow. My mother has such nachas in Shemayim. She's brimming. He got them on an English word. Case Adam Shvuah Shetel and Pliny. Oh my Shvuah Shetel and Pliny. It's like a word.
Yeah, it says it here. It's a noun.
It's a noun. Tangibility. Bunch of Amaratzim here. The Ilam is sitting at the screen. Of course it's a word. Of course it's a word. Get rid of these guys. Who are these guys? Well, it's a good thing he's not here. ChatGPT doesn't know what it's talking about. Doesn't know what it's talking about. Shaita. Right there. It's a good thing he's not here. Hello, it's your job. Oh, so what is he giving? What is he promising? He's promising tzedakah to give to a poor person. I didn't understand the Rishonim. The Rishonim have a difficulty here. Why is he mushba? A person is sworn, and from Har Sinai he must give tzedakah. And they say, why? You don't have to give this guy, you can give somebody else. I thought we learned, I think that's one of the Rishonim, I think the Rashba says, that if an Ani comes to you, you have to give him something. There's a minimum. By the way, these guys that go around, people that come all the time, so you give them a minimum. Guys that come to you and they tell you, I don't want to give anybody ideas, because recently I right after this, I had an interview with Hidabrut, which did very well. A lot of people saw it. Just yesterday, somebody sent a shaliach, like in a car service. The guy came, he says, here, this is a letter from a person in Yerushalayim that wants money from you. Sent a car all the way from Yerushalayim. And every day I get 2 or 3 of these now. Yeah. Okay. Rosh Koilel, get in line. He woke up. What are you talking about? I've been sitting here all this time. I don't give it. I don't read it. I saw the beginning of it and I put it in the garbage. What am I going to start giving to all these people? Huh? Ah, okay. He just woke up with tangibility. He doesn't know either where we are. Okay, so we have a chiyuv to give tzedakah. Rabbi Yisai shenemar nosoin titein loy. It says nothing didn't know. You have to give tzedakah. They say about a Rebbe, I don't remember which one, that somebody came and asked him for money. So he looked at him, said, okay, here's money. He gave him some money. And then the guy walked out of his room, and then he ran after him. He said, here, let me give you money. The guy comes back, and he gives him more money. He says, what's pshat? He says, because the first time I gave you money, you told me a very, a story. And that story touched me. And I gave you the money because it touched me, not because of the chiyuv of tzedakah. So I wanted to give you because of the chiyuv of tzedakah. Nothing titein, and he said, nothing titein you should give, a double lashon. He said, not because it hurts my heart and I have rachmanas on you, but because I have a chiyuv to give. Okay? Oh, which reminds me about these the Israelis with the, I'm not exaggerating, there's people standing here and they give, here I have this moisa, this moisa. So the famous line from the Satmar Rav, I love it. He said, what's the difference when it comes to Eretz Yisrael? He used to come to Eretz Yisrael, yeah? So what's the difference between the Israelis and the Americans? He says, in America, people come to me and they ask me for eitzes, and then they give me money. In Eretz Yisrael, they come and they give me eitzes, and they ask me for money. And it's mamish good. They give you, the guy writes an email, I'm not joking. I think in your shir, you should do this and be less that and that. And by the way, I have it, please send, here's my bit and here's my this, just send it to this address. I should show you a few of those. They give a couple of eitzes and then they ask for money. They want to get paid for their eitzes. Yeah, they get more paid for it. Zog the Gemara. Oh, Elo, Matana Lasher. We're talking about a guy decides, I'm going to give, okay, we said you can't make a shvuah on something that you're mechuyev to do. Tzedakah is something you're mechuyev to do, so there's no shvuah on giving tzedakah. But if you decide to give a gift to a wealthy person, you want to give a $400 million plane to Trump, and you make a shvuah that you're going to do it, oh, that's where, hint, hint. Okay, too much batala now, but Benny is working on he wants to get a private jet for MDY. He holds that MDY needs a private jet, because once a year that we go on a safari or something. So the Olam, speak to him if you're interested, if you have an extra jet that you just want to give. A Gulfstream, which one? A 20-seater. And we have a guy here that's willing, Mamish, he's Mamish, Tzadik Gil is going to fly it for us for free. Sheishan v'shalayishan. A person says, I'm going to sleep or not going to sleep. I'm not going to sleep for 3 days. It's impossible for a human being to go without 3 days of sleep. So therefore, if you make such a shvuah, you undo the shvuah immediately. You go to sleep right away because it's shtusim what he's saying. But he gets malchus. Why does he get malchus? Because he was over on this. What he did is a shvuah shav. It's not a shvuah bitui. Here we have a givaldik picture here of a typical yeshiva. This is in Merkaz. This was taken from the Malchus. Okay. Shvua shelo yishan. No? Shgiach Merkaz? No, he says no. Okay, not Merkaz. Some other. Yeah, I'm confusing with where I went to yeshiva. Awesome, I don't know what kind of this. Hello, this is all Yoshi. I don't know what experience he had in yeshiva. Something happened over there. Malki nois of Yoshin Alter. So the Gemara says, how can a person swear that he's not going to sleep? It's impossible to not sleep. By the way, if you look it up, there's the guy in the 60s, this 17-year-old. They did a study on him, and they watched him. They observed him for 11 days and 32 minutes or 34. I don't remember anymore. He stayed up for 11 days. He almost died, and he was hallucinating and all that stuff, but he was able to stay. So they asked the question, look, it's possible. David Blaine, I think, this guy, the guy had an accident. I didn't see it now, but a long time ago I read a story about a guy that was in an accident, and he lost his ability to sleep. B'chlal. So they say, okay, well, the Gemara is talking about a regular human being. You try to stay up for 3 days, you won't be successful. It won't work. You're going to fall asleep.
Why is it shua shav? If it's theoretically possible, it should be shua shav.
No, everything's theoretically possible. In a very, very, we don't talk about that. We talk about the normal, 99.7% of the human of a normal situation. It is. Because for you it's a shua shav. Guarantee you, for everybody in this room it's a shua shav. So the Gemara answers no. When do you break the shvur right away when it's shtusim? Because the guy said straight out 3 days. It's impossible to go 3 days. He didn't say 3. So what did he say? The Rashba says that he didn't say anything. He just said until I fall asleep. The Rosh says no. He was more like specific. He said only 1 day. Okay. Let me show you the Ezrik Tzrel Yam. This time also for shtusim. There's a whole international pebble throwing competition. I don't know. Listen, the guy's wife is in America. So he's Shelo Yishan. He's like, his mom is having a good time. Look, the Israelis didn't get to see this. At like 1 o'clock in the morning, he's like, okay, I finished the Shelo Isha one. He had the regular throwing, and then he added the shark, like he was going. Okay, so now we're starting a whole sugya until the end of the day. What is going on here? Let's get out of here. Okay. Rabbi Isai, very, very simple. The whole sugya is just one idea. Do you have to be able to say a shvuah for the future? Let's say you spoke about the past, but it's not possible for the future. Does the shvuah work or not? That's the whole sugya. And we're going to ask a bunch of questions, and there's a lot of words here, but it's very, very simple. Itmar shvuah shezorak ploini tzrar layam. What was the shvuah? That somebody threw a stone in the past into the ocean. That's saying by mamish, it's mamish shtusim, there's no hana from it, says Rashi. V'shaloi zarak, in the past, all in the past. Rav Amar Chayev, Shmuel Amar Potter. Machlokes Rav and Shmuel, that's the whole sugya. Are you Chayev or Potter? What's the svara? Rav Amar Chayev, the reason why you're Chayev, Isa belav vehein. So that's already something that we saw yesterday, yes?
Go back to the Shelo Yishan picture, you can press play.
I did. That's the oh, Shvuah Sheishan, this one. Oh, okay. It looks good.
I swear I'll sleep.
That's it? Okay. Okay. Now we can't. It says in the pasuk, Lohara oy lahetiv. So, Rav says, you need to have lav and hein. You need to have lav and hein. You have to have the positive and the negative in every shvuah. So if you say, I didn't throw the positives, I did. I didn't and I did. Here, Rav, loy zorak Evan, hu zorak Evan. He threw a stone, he didn't throw a stone. There's a no and there's a yes. There's a positive and a negative. Every shvuah has to have the positive and the negative. The question is, do you need to also have a future in the past? You have to say the wording for the future also. If you spoke about the past, do you have to say it in the future? I'll give you an example. The Gemara asks. You can't swear about a mitzvah for the future. You can't say, I will not put on tefillin. It doesn't work. Why? Because you have to put on tefillin. So then you cannot talk about the past, that he put on tefillin, didn't put on tefillin. So a shvuah about tefillin shouldn't work, l'chayra. That's Shmuel. Rav Amar Chayiv Yisab Lavein. All I care about is Lavein. Why? I go with what it says in the pasuk. The pasuk talks about Ra and Toiv, yes and no. Shmuel Amar Potter Lesa B'Lahaba. This Shmuel,
right?
what?
Limited, like I swear I'll put on tefillin again.
Yeah, but in that, because that you're not going to be over anything. I could swear also that I won't go into the sukkah because it's one sukkah and the other sukkahs I could. All the sukkahs. You can't swear. I'm not going to go to any sukkah. I'm not going to be kind of the mitzvah sukkah.
It's not the same machlok as Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Shmuel.
Very good. Very good. What's the machlokes over there?
Whether shvuah applies to something in the past tense.
Oh, it's mamish like a Gemara cup. So actually, you helped me a lot. You did. You helped. Because usually the sugi like that goes, lema, it should be the machlokes of Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Shmuel. And the Gemara says, no, it's a classic. L'chayra, this machlokes Rav and Shmuel should be like Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Shmuel, which now that I'm thinking about it is usually a question like, why would Rav and Shmuel, who are Amoraim, argue in a famous machlokes of Tanaim, which David himself, Reb David himself thought about and said, look, it's the same machlokes. So the Gemara is going to bring that up, and the Gemara is going to say, no, classic. L'chayr is the same? No, it's not the same. I'll tell you why it's not the same. But you just helped me, because now it explains it better to everybody else. You came up with it yourself. So we're going to say this over and over again. Shmuel says you have to be able to say the same wording. We're talking about a guy who threw a stone yesterday in the Olympics on the ocean, yesterday. But that shvuah cannot apply itself to the future. How do you know that guy in the Olympics is going to throw a stone next week? You can't say that. You know what he's going to do. So since it doesn't apply to the future, it doesn't apply to the past. Says the Gemara, that's the same exact machlokes of Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Shmuel. Just look at this chart. Loi Zorak Yevin means, I put it in parentheses today, Sha'avar, in the past. Rav says Chayiv. Rabbi Kiva says, you can make a shvuah about the past. Right? The Shnaim Shem Arba. What does Rabbi Kiva say? Rabbi Kiva says, a shvuah is in the future and in the past. Rabbi Shmuel says, no, a shvuah is only in the future, not in the past. So let me believe Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Kiva coming fligi. This is not Rabbi Shmuel, Lo Yimer Chayiv Ela'al. Said, our Mishnah. Rabbi Shmuel says, you're only chayiv on a shvuah in the future. Shenem alahara leheda, which is the future. Rabbi Kiva, and we're doing the whole chazara now. You want to be a stickler to the words. It says bad and good, so she was only bad and good. What about potato kugel minayin? No, because the pasuk says, what's the lashon? Once you have l'chal sheyivata, so it works for both directions, the future and the past. So l'chayra Rav Domak Rabbi Kiva, here's Mamash lines up. The Avar is Chayiv. Rabbi Kiva says Avar Chayiv. Shmuel says Avar Potter. Shmuel says Potter. Shmuel says Gemara, the classic. I leave the Shmuel Kulei Amalei Pligi. No. Everybody's going to agree to Rabbi Shmuel, in Rabbi Shmuel, that what if so and so threw a stone in the past? To explain Rabbi Shmuel says that anything that is not that you could, something that you could talk about the future, you cannot make a shvuah about the past, because Rabbi Shmuel erases the whole past. There is no past when it comes to the shvuah. Whether you could say the shvuah in the future or not doesn't make a difference to Rabbi Shmuel. You can never make a shvuah about the past. It's lahara leheit if it's only in the future, not in the past. So he says, listen, something that you could talk about in the future, yet you cannot make the same shvuah about the past. That's something that is not in the future, like in our case. I know that so-and-so is going to throw a stone tomorrow. No, you don't know. So certainly it's not going to work in the past. So the whole machlokes will be Rabbi Kiva, Rav holds like Rabbi Kiva, like you see over here. But Shmuel is going to say no. In Rabbi Kiva only says about the past, only something that you could do and talk about the future, you could talk about the past. But in our case, that you cannot talk about the future because you don't know if the guy's going to throw a stone in the future. Lie. And it doesn't work. What? Yeah, exactly. Everybody could hold like Rebbe Kiva, and it'll just say, but Rebbe Kiva, in this case, will agree to me. Leima beplukta, but there's another Tanaim. There's Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira. Again, it doesn't make sense that Rav and Shmuel will argue in something that previous generations argued about. Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira and Abana. Just the way I understand the sugya is very simple. There's two things that we can learn from this pasuk. Yeah, let's look at the pasuk a second. Lahara lehetiv. There's two things that are on the table right now: the positive and the negative, the yes and the no, and the future and the past. Lahara is the future, lehetiv is the future, and I'm just medayik, not the past, but it's the diuk. And according to Rebbe Shmuel, lahara lehetiv is more. It's more in the pasuk, good and bad. It's more yes and no. It's in the pasuk. So what the Gemara is saying over here is that if you say that it's necessary to have good and bad in your shvuah, be able to say the good and the bad, the yes and the no, then they go together. Then you have to have the future and the past also. That's what the Gemara is saying here. So we have a machlokes Tanaim. Should we do the sponsors? Turning of the daf. Innovations in honor of our sons Kalmo and Yisrael for learning Sanhedrin Makis Shavuos and Rebelli. They're global experts in international financial services. Anonymous in honor of the tzaddik whose name we cannot say, who shows us what it means to be a giver and a tzaddik. The Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira, maybe Rav and Shmuel are in the machlokes of Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira and Chachamim. Here it is. L'snan. If somebody swore that he's not going to put on tefillin today, but he did put on tefillin, potter. He doesn't have to bring a carbon oil of a yared for breaking his shvuah. If he swore he's going to do a mitzvah, he's going to give tzedakah and he didn't, potter, he doesn't have to bring a carbon. Because I can bring a kavachoyim, if you go according to the Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira, should be chayiv. Why? If a person swears that he's going to eat potato kugel and that's not in the Torah at all, you are chayiv because you broke your shvuah. You didn't eat potato kugel mitzvah shemush ba'aleh mar Sinai, something that you mechuyev to do, like putting on tefillin. And it didn't chayiv aleh. Certainly you can make a shvuah on it. Amr loy loy im amar de b'shvuah asar shul shekain asaba lav kehein. Like I showed you in the pasuk, it says lahara lahetiv. One of the major conditions of making a shvuah is that you have to be able to say it in the positive and in the negative. The problem is when it comes to mitzvah, I can't say the negative. Why can't I say the negative? I can't swear I'm not going to put on tefillin. Shekain asaba lav kehein. Tomer b'shvuas mitzvah shekain le'asaba lav kehein. Doesn't work when it comes to a mitzvah. So your svar doesn't work. So. But you see that Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira holds that you need lav and hein. You need a yes and a no. Sorry, you don't need a yes and a no. You don't need a yes and a no. So Meila name a Rav Domak Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira. Since you don't need a yes and a no, so you don't need a future and a past. They go together. It's from the same words in the pasuk. Ushmuel Domak Rabbanan, and Shmuel says like Rabbanan. Rabbanan says you do need. I don't know why it says imtzach. Okay, if you do need a lav and a hein, and therefore you need a future and a past. Says the Gemara also, we're going to be doing this. I'll leave it to Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira kulam loy pligi. In Rebbe Yehuda ben Meseira, there's no argument. Tashta lav ve'hein loy boy. He says you don't need a yes and a no, positive and negative. Lahav l'shavar boy. But you need, yeah, it's a question. If you don't, it's much more mefurish in the pasuk, the yes and the no. It says lahara lehetiv. So if you don't need that, why would I say you need something that's not even in the pasuk, like a future in the past? Please leave the Rabbanon according to Rabbanon. Now what? Shmuel ki Rabbanon v'Rav. Shmuel holds like Rabbanon that you need the positive and the negative, so you also need the future and the past. That's why Shmuel says you need the.
Shmuel that holds in the Shava and Lahaba.
Yeah, right, but Rabbanan say lav and hein, they'll also hold shavar, future in the past. Rav, kiloi mechayvi Rabbanan, When Rabbanan say you're not chayav b'lavehein d'chsiv l'har lehetiv, he says no. There's no connection. That it says mefurish in the pasuk l'har lehetiv, a positive and a negative. Behedya mefurish. Aval l'shavar. The crossing, that's only because of the hemshech of the pasuk l'chol sheyivata mechayvi. So therefore, you wouldn't need the lahava. Mazav Rav Amnuna. Lo yachalti hayoim v'lo yinachti tefillin hayoim. If a person swears, I didn't eat today, or he swears, I didn't put on tefillin today. There was when I was in the airport, I was wearing tefillin, and I saw two non-religious people sitting across from me. So I asked them if they want to put on tefillin. But I'm not a pro, so they gave me like a pretty strong no. Like, no, not strong, like, no need. I realized Lubavitch, they do it differently. They say, first you have to take care of the Gashmias. Then you can talk about the real things. First you give him a donut or something, and then you could, just go over to a guy and say, hey, you want to put on tefillin? Talk about, it's like, I was reminded here. First it's lo yachalti hayoim. Then it's lo yinachti tefillin. Talk about the food. Give him something geschmack. Do you want some? Then tefillin. Talking about malaria pills. I didn't take them. Lo yachalti lo yinachti. If you see tomorrow I'm out. Mashbiach ani v'omar omein. So a person swears, Lo yichalti hayoim, lo yinachti tefillin, mashbiach ani, I'm making you swear ba'omar omein. He said yes to the shvuah. Chayav. So we have a little bit of a problem, because according to Shmuel, you need everything, every shvuah has to be something that works for the future. Something that you swore that you didn't eat, it works well, because you could also swear, I'm not going to eat. It's in the future. But about tefillin, you can't make a shvuah that I'm not going to wear tefillin in the future. Just real quickly, I want to give a people tip, because I use this trick for over a year now, and I found it in the Vilna Gaon, so I'm very excited. I ask people, when I talk about the daf, I ask them, do you wear tefillin every day? And they say, of course, avada. And a lot of people, when I ask them, do you learn Torah every day? They admit that they don't learn Torah every day. Especially, imagine going on the safari and you don't have daf yomi. Bemes, I'm not joking. You're on the safari. You get up 5 in the morning, you barely have time to drink a coffee, you run to the Jeep, it's pitch black, it's dark, and you go for 2 hours until the sun comes up, and then you daven vasikin, and then you go for another 10 hours. Literally, we're on the Jeep for 14 hours. I had to give a shiur that day, and I tried to learn on the Jeep. Trust me, I didn't get in one word. Yeah? Then you come home, you're exhausted. How are you going to open up a Gemara? There's no learning. You eat, and you go to sleep. Our chaver, every single person came, and they all heard at least one shiur, maybe even 2. That's the kayach of daf yomi. But our people, a normal person will tell you, listen, when I was on the safari, I couldn't learn. I couldn't. But if you ask that same guy, did you wear tefillin today? Of course. Yeah. But Torah is much more chashuv than tefillin. How do I know? So I was saying this because we say every day, Talmud Torah connected to kulam. It's the most important mitzvahs. How can you say you went a day without Torah? Yes, in a situation where you only have 1 minute to live that morning, the doctor says you're going to die in 1 minute, you're supposed to put on your tefillin and not learn Torah, because that's your chiyuv right now. But in terms of the value of the mitzvah, there's no comparison between Torah and this. So I saw it in the Vilna Gaon. It says mamish mefurish those words in the what do you call it? I went through it. I looked for it this morning. I couldn't find it. I'm shite. I didn't put it. But we have the sefer here. The no. The minhagim of the Gra. What is it called? The Ma'aser Rav. Thank you. Who said that? You? Whoa, Yosef Biliad. In the Ma'aser Rav, it was in there. Anyway, mamish those words. There's no comparison to Torah and Tefillin, he says. Anyway, it's a good tip if you want to get somebody to this year. Says the Gemara, you're right. It's a good kasha that you just asked me on tefillin, and it really doesn't work on tefillin. This shvuah doesn't work on tefillin. So that's why when I swear that I didn't eat, it works perfectly in the future. So therefore, you have to bring a carbon. But not putting on tefillin, it doesn't work well. It's not going to work in the future. Therefore, it's not a real shvuah, and that's why you only get malchus. You don't have to bring a real carbon. Carbon, you're not going to have to bring. Masav Rava, Ezi shvuah shav. Another question on Shmuel. What's a shvuah shav? a shvua for no reason. Nishba l'shanas is yidu aladam. A person tries to say a silly thing. V'amar al amud sheleven shushal zav. He looks at this beam and he says, "This is a golden beam." Mamish shtusim. Everybody knows. You look at it; it's marble. It's not gold. There was a ma'isa with the Uraim. Uraim is a rishon. A guy came to him and said, "Listen, I sold a piece of lead, and the guy that I sold it to found out that the whole thing is gold. I want it back. It's a mekach tos. What do you guys think? Could I get it back? Yes or no?"
Yes.
You say yes? And you say no. We have no's and we have yeses. This is a great shiloh. What do you say? You don't know? Machlokes is very nice. Says the Uraim, I didn't.
When I'm being mad at you, I'm mad at myself. That's still.
No.
I didn't do.
That's lead. He sold it.
No, that's right. I should. I don't be ruined. I should.
What about the mekach tos when you bought it? How about you bought it with tos? You didn't know. You paid $2 for it. Here's the shiloh. It happens in America all the time. There's a garage sale, and somebody buys a painting for $2.50. It turns out it's worth $10 million.
Independence behind it.
Yeah. The person found the Declaration of Independence behind it and sells it for, who knows, $20 million afterwards. So the Uraim says it's not a mekach tos, because if you don't know the sale, then there's no mekach tos. You have to know what you're buying. You have to know what you're buying. You're not aware of it. What? Who? Really?
Yeah. Somebody who sold the sefer and turned out it had the signature of the chidah.
What you say?
Doesn't he have time to ask his friends about the object, what it's worth? Consult with his friends?
When he bought it or when he sold it?
He has like a day to consult his friends after he bought it.
Really?
To return
I'm not familiar with that. But anyway, okay. This has zero to do with the sugya. I just thought it's a cool thing because he said about this beam that it was stone, but he says it's gold. Oh, you know? Oh, what about I know?
He's saying it's in terms of onah.
Oh, you know? Oh, you know? Okay. Yeah, something else. V'amar Ula. You have to be able to, 3 people have to tell that it's really not gold. It's obvious to 3 people. So the Gemara's Medayik, Rabb's Medayik, time of the Nikar, it's only because they're able to differentiate between gold and stone. Holy Nikar, Oiver Mishum Shuas Bituy. You make his diuk is, it's because you were able to discern that it's not gold. But if you weren't able to, you would be Oiver and Shuas Bituy. That the Gemara is going to say is false. We have to be medayik something else. It's impossible for this beam to turn into gold. According to Shmuel, you have to be able to swear on something in the future, and the future can't turn into gold. He asked the question, he himself answers, Rava, if you're able to discern and know that it's not, then you're over Shuas Shvav. Loy nikar, not that you're over now in Shuas Bituy, over Mishum Shvuas Sheker. That's different. It says in the pasuk, let's just do Abaya for a second and then that's it. Omer Abaya, Umoide Rav. What does Rav say? Rav says that you don't need to talk about the future, but you do need a yes and a no to be able to say Shvu in the yes and the negative and the positive. Says Rav, Ba'omer l'chaveira, Moida, says Abaya, Rav is going to be Moida, Ba'omer l'chaveira, Shvu sh'ani yoideh l'cha eidos, I know, I could testify for you. The potter. In this case, when we find out that he doesn't know, he's potter. Why? Says Abaya, then it's very interesting. If a person swears, I don't know edus for you, so now Rav typically doesn't say that you need the future, but over here he says that you're potter. Why? Because you do need a yes and a no. And over here, this is not a regular shvuah. This is shvuas eidos. We're going into something completely different called shvuas eidos. So shvuas eidos, let's see Rashi here for a second. Umoide Rav. Says Rashi. According to Rav, you don't need the future. But you do need a yes and a no. I cannot find the no in shvuas eidos. Why? The less of any yedelecha, the any yedelecha idus lavish was bitui. It's a peladik chiddush. I'm going to remove the no from Eidos because it's not a Shavuos Shav. That's already a different type of Shavuot. So it turns out I don't even have a no. There is a no, but it's not called Shavuos Shav. It's called Shavuos Eidos. You chap? It's a little tricky. You need a yes and a no. And in this case, you do have a no. But it's not part of the Shavuos Bitoy, not part of the Shavuot. It's a different Shavuot. It's called the Shavuos Eidos. So once it's called the Shavuos Eidos, it removes it from the yes and the no. I don't have a no in a regular Shavuot. It's a Shavuos Eidos. Here, and he says like this. It's a different Chiv, not Shavuos Bitoy. Why? Because he explains. There's different requirements for Shavuos Eidos. First of all, it has to be inside a bezdin. Second of all, you have to be royal Eidos. And then Mela, it doesn't count for being a no. And Mela, you potter. Let me just finish this line over here. In other words, anything that I can't say, I am going to know Eidos for you in the future, that turns into machloikis. Because Shmuel says there's no future there, and there's no future, there's no Shmuel. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDYDAF.com.